When I left Christianity and fundamentalist churches, I realized that Christian hate is just dressed up as Christian love. I mean, there's no, what's that old saying? There's no hate like Christian love, I think is what they say. And it's really true. Christians can be nice, kind, law-abiding, friendly, but at the end of the day, they believe that anyone who does not believe in this one God out of 10,000 gods, you're going to hell. And imagine being a part of a group, being a Christian, however and whatever denomination you call home. And if you ask Christians, if you don't believe in God or have Jesus in your heart, are you going to hell? The answer is yes. Can you imagine living that life? That everyone, regardless of the good choices they make, are going to hell. And my response is, if you can say a prayer and get out of hell, what's the point of life? You can be the worst person imaginable, but as soon as you find God, you get a free pass. I mean, yeah, there are consequences on this earth, regardless of when you find God. I mean, you commit a felony, you're not getting out of prison just because you believe in God. Even though these days, being a felon just doesn't mean what it used to mean. Now it means you can be president, or basically you will be liked by Trump if you have a felony. He loves people with felonies. He actually has the audacity to call people who are not committing a crime being in this country. They've never been deported, but he calls them criminals. Christians in their arrogance believe that if you are in any religion, if you're not in this one, especially even if you're a Christian, it's not enough. You have to be this one denomination out of 40,000 denominations in order to marry into it, to exist within it, to call yourself the real deal. Personally, I think my worst nightmare is waking up and being in the right church. Can you imagine the arrogance that's required to believe that just because you are in one specific church, that you have the moral majority, the moral superiority to be or to go to heaven instead of hell? If Christians actually consistently read their Bible without thinking the way they're programmed to think when it comes to just existing in the world, very few Christians would stay Christians. You cannot read the Bible with an open mind and want to stay. Maybe for a little while, but when you really read what the Bible says, you realize how hateful you have to be in order to enable this, excuse it, support it. It doesn't matter what one person stands for. If they're a convicted felon who, according to a judge, there's enough evidence to legally call him the P word when it comes to kids. And it doesn't matter what this person says or what they stand for. Just being called that by a judge should negate you from ever running for president or holding any position of authority. But no wonder Christians like felons and pedophiles. 1 out of 33 men in church is one. They love them. They will vote for them, protect them, and salute them. They'll even charge up the Congress steps to make them happy. But when you look at Christians, and there are different types, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of different types of Christians. The biggest denominations in Christianity are fundamentalist, traditional, sexist groups of people. Several of those churches are on America's hate group list. You know what I mean. The Westboro Baptist Church. I would rather get leprosy than step in that church. Yeah. And Christians are so arrogant. They think they have Christian privilege. And if you're white and male and Christian, you are part of the 3 most privileged groups in American history. There's nothing you can't do. You can commit the worst acts against children, and you'll probably have a lot of pastors sticking up for you, hiding you, and enabling you. There is no group except heterosexual men that have as much privilege as American Christians. Which is funny, in a way, because my family will deny till their last breath that we're not privileged. Imagine, a white, cis, heterosexual man said that to me. How devoid of internal reflection does someone have to be to fit all 3 of, and Christian, 3 of the most privileged? I don't know if there are no groups as privileged as cis, heterosexual, white, Christian man. If there is a group more privileged, drop it in the comments. I would love to meet this group. I really would. They're so privileged. If they try to break the law when it comes to separation of church and state, they think they'll win. They can deny marriage certificates to people. I think the name of that awful, I don't want to use a slur, but I don't even know of a nice word to say. Piece of garbage, Kim Davis. She got told by the Supreme Court that do your job or get out. That was so much. That was great. Christians can use their beliefs to discriminate against people. And I always scratch my head and say, if you choose a job that you know will conflict with your religious beliefs, are you stupid for having that job, or are you hoping these things will happen? If you have a problem with gay people, don't work in jobs that will require 1 out of 5 times you stamp something or sign it to be involved in that group. It's stupid. You don't get a job baking a cake or giving out marriage licenses if you have a problem with 20% of people who might be getting married in your office. It makes sense. What she did does not. You cannot discriminate against people because some male sexist god says you're not to recognize something. If that's your job, do it or resign. As long as they're not making you do something that's unethical or illegal, do your job. I do stuff at my job all the time that makes me uncomfortable. Usually it's because I don't feel comfortable being around a lot of people. I like being off by myself. Or if I'm not confident enough to do something, that might make me uncomfortable because I'm out of my depth. But if you have a problem with left-handed people, you might not want to be a teacher. If you have a problem with gay people, don't be a county clerk officer. If you have a problem with women, don't become a gynecologist. I mean, some things are just stupid. But at the end of the day, without these stupid people, we wouldn't laugh as much as we do. Of course, they waste taxpayers' money, but people use their beliefs, religious usually, to mask bigotry, racism, sexism. It should not surprise anybody. I'm actually surprised if somebody doesn't have their ideas clouded by bigotry. Those are the kind of people I want to be friends with. But at the end of the day, Christians believe they're better than everyone else. You cannot believe that you go to heaven and everyone who doesn't believe in one God out of 10,000 gods, that makes you special. Christianity, one of the biggest things I was told to support is Zionism. And for those people who live under a rock and don't know what that is, they basically believe that regardless of what Israel does, they will support them. Even if they commit genocide, acts of terrorism, war crimes, doesn't matter. It does. But to these people, it doesn't. You basically explain away every behavior that's bad, and they really don't have to explain it away. They're Christian. They're used to covering up things we wouldn't talk about during a social function. Christians are experts in supporting and enabling bad behavior. I'm actually shocked if somebody who calls himself a Christian doesn't support certain groups. And there's an arrogance that goes along with religion. And it's not just a Christian thing. It's a religious thing. It's something that seeps down into even people's genealogies. People believe that if you have certain blood, certain ethnicity in you, you're better than other people. I mean, look how the Christians like the Jewish people. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of great Jewish people out there. Half the cast of Stranger Things are Jewish. I mean, I have no problem. I mean, I've met people who hated Jewish people. They also like to watch Star Trek, so that doesn't make any sense at all. Because, a lot of the people who are considered the lead actors in Star Trek are Jewish. But I've met a lot of people that don't like Jewish people. And I always put it into context. Every ethnicity is capable of good and bad. Even people who have been targeted can, 80 years later, become the predators. And yes, there was a time, and many times in history, that Jewish people were targeted. That doesn't mean they're incapable of targeting other people. If that were true, most of the Old Testament wouldn't exist, because the Jewish people are known for killing a lot of people. They call it their inheritance, but it's still genocide. You can dress it up however you want, but there's just something about religion that makes people think their ethnicity is special, and the wrong kind of special. This is what racism is. And in previous videos, I've talked to people about how religion helps people justify slavery, owning women, treating kids like garbage. Nothing helps you justify the worst acts of depravity, especially coming from heterosexual men, like the Christian faith. Because if you believe in a system that you're looking forward to the next life and barely or never making this world a better place, you can't call yourself a good person. They'll find a way, though. They believe they're morally superior. And in that pride, which ironically God said in the Bible that pride is a sin, I would say the average Christian is guilty of pride. My own family included. They are so arrogant. And I have an open mind. If what I think is true, later on they find evidence it's not, I have no problem changing my opinion. Christians won't. They'll find a different denomination, a different interpretation. They will never admit there's no God. It goes against their genetics and the way their brain is wired. So yeah, there is such a thing as Christian privilege. And all these nice Christians that people love so much, They all believe, if you are a traditional Christian, they all believe that anyone who doesn't believe in Jesus in the right way, you're going to hell. So all these nice people you like that call themselves Christians, they believe you're going to hell if you're not just like them. Ironically, that's how every religion views everybody else. They call them infidels, non-believers, Westerners. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, all these religions have a slur for people who don't believe the way they do. And Christians have an arrogant superiority. They believe everyone's going to hell, and that they, for some reason, it's not because they're decent people, it's because they believe they're the exception. And Christian privilege is in the top 3 most privileged, bigoted groups in America. Number 1 is men. Number 2 is heteronormity. And 3 is being a white Christian. It astounds me how African American people, especially women, want anything to do with Christianity. Because guess which group of people supported their slavery? Christians. It always baffles me why anyone would want to be in a group or call themselves, brothers, or be friendly with groups that took 130 years after the end of slavery to admit that slavery is wrong. And there's even fundamentalists right now. I forget what his first name is, but his last name is Walsh. He actually admitted that slavery wasn't so bad. Slavery was always bad. Anyone who says otherwise, do not leave with your kids. You have to be morally bankrupt to believe you're superior to other people because of your race, religion, and your gender. And at the end of their life, they honestly believe that when everyone dies, that they'll know God is real. That's what Christians believe. So love them, hate them, or whatever is in between. These Christians want the end of the world to happen so you get destroyed and you get thrown into everlasting punishment. These are the wonderful Christians we enable and call good people. Anyone who thinks someone's going to hell for being anything, but a decent person, and yes, they believe decent people go to hell. I don't want to know what these people do. These kind of people vote in elections, and we know exactly what kind of people they vote for. People who should be in prison. And why do they support them? Because they have exactly the same kind of people in their own ranks. It's familiar to them. They love it. They honestly believe they're better than everyone else. And if it was legal and politically correct, they would probably want to return to a time where African Americans were slaves, women were property, and that they could do whatever they wanted. And the biggest fundamentalist Christian social media platforms, those people, that's what they want to do. They want to repeal every amendment that gives anyone but a white man freedom, privilege, and influence.